Hey Ariel, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you doing this morning? Or
Very
is
well.
it morning where you are?
It's morning-ish at the moment. We're just getting started. I'm on camera talking about sharks all day, so what's not to like?
Wonderful. Yes, it is very awesome. I'm very excited for Shark Week. So, Paul, curious, you have a very harrowing story where you went from being an Australian Navy to diver to essentially a passionate advocate for sharks and shark conservation. I'm wondering was there a certain point in your recovery where you decided you wanted to be a conservationist for these misunderstood predators?
Not at all. No. I didn't really want anything to do with them, to be honest. Previous to the shark attack, I just figured if we killed them all, then we could just swim in the ocean and be safe. I knew nothing about them, but because I was a Navy diver in the water all the time, I had them on the brain. And so I was so scared that one day I was, going to get eaten. And all of my teammates at the dive team were like, of all the people to get attacked, it had to be Paul. And so it wasn't until years later that I actually became interested in working in conservation and working in creating these amazing shark documentaries. It was a bit of a rough road to get to that point.
Okay, so you were like the embodiment of the Alanis Morissette song, isn't it ironic?
Exactly. It's almost like I manifested this shark out of my own fear. Yeah, well, because my shark attack was so big in the Australian media and around the
Yeah.
world, and I started out by saying, look, I don't blame the shark. I don't want anyone to go out there and hunt them or hurt them. I chose a dangerous life, and at least this way, I got a good story out of it. I didn't crash my motorcycle. I got eaten by a shark. That got you a lot of free beer at the pub, and so I never really blamed the shark. And so the media sort of went, oh, that's an interesting perspective. And every time there was another negative shark interaction in Australia, the media would come to me for an opinion. And
Mm.
I never wanted to give just an opinion. I always want to give an educated opinion, but I didn't know anything. Enter the beauty of the internet. And so I started to teach myself all about sharks, and I started to realize how under threat they were and how much they do need champions to stand up for them and how important they are to not just the ocean's ecosystem, but the entire world. And, keeping them around keeps us around. And so I thought, that's a pretty great transfer of my military service. Instead of standing up for those that can't stand up for themselves, now I have the opportunity to speak up for an animal that doesn't have a voice.
Beautiful. So the servitude stuck with you. That sounds like that was the drive. But
Yeah.
I'm curious, in the episode of Sydney Harbor shark invasion, you actually revisit the place where you had your shark attack. Does it have any meaning for you? Was going back there sort of insightful and different, or have you been back there so much it's just now another place?
Yeah, no, I haven't actually been to those places before since the shark attack. I did do, I did stay with the reserve diving team for a couple of years after I exited the Navy dive school, and I did do some dives throughout the harbour, but not in the same area, not exactly when I was attacked, not looking for bull sharks. That is not something that I thought I would ever do in Sydney Harbour, and so it was very harrowing. It was I don't feel fear as much as I used to. Nothing really scares me anymore. You come that close to death and you realize that death is not scary. But that doesn't mean I want to get into murky water in Sydney Harbour where I know there's bull sharks with bait attached to me. And so, but how else are you going to find them? And so that was the job, that was the mission. So I just put my head down. We made it as safe as we could, but it is like an inherently dangerous environment. And so
Yes.
it is as much as a touching and emotional journey for me, it's very exciting as well.
Wow. Wow. Okay. So the fear, not really present, still cautious and aware. And it sounds like maybe a little bit more invigorating or enticing. Like it definitely added a different element and layer.
It did. I'm not going to say I want to do it again.
Okay.
Uh,
Fair, fair.
I like to stick to the clear water where I can see the sharks coming to attack me. And then I can just grab them and push them away and go, oh, you cheeky little bugger, get out of here. You can't do that when it's murky. And we had some close
Very true.
calls in that show as well. The Great White Serial Killer show that I'm in also, this is what's happening to the fishermen, the diver fishermen of Yavaros in the Sea of Cortez. They're getting attacked by great whites. They're diving into super murky water, making noises, fishing. And so that was another great adventure to go and try and not just help the sharks stay safe from these fishermen, but also protect the community and their livelihood.
Let's grab the Bumblebee and head down.
Copy.
Topside, we've reached bottom. Alright, mate, are you good with that by yourself?
Yeah.
Moving to Rocky Outcrop.
Eerie down here.
This visibility is pretty terrible.
I don't know how these divers ever did it.
Keep your eyes out, mate. It feels real sharky down here.
I think part of the problem is we're making noises down here that attract sharks.
Alright, that looks like a good spot.
Right here. Good spot for the Bumblebee. Let's start rolling. Press record.
Topside, cameras are rolling. Let's move over to that piece of coral.
Copy.
I think I see something. Shark. We have eyes on. Shark's checking out Bumblebee.
Here at People of Con, we're a program that's part of this nonprofit called Geek Therapy, and we advocate for inclusivity and representation. Given your experience moving through life with missing limbs, what equipment or modifications have you made to equipment to make this life more accommodating for you? And anything that you would share with the audience about getting accommodations?
I have robot limbs now. I have one of the world's best robotic hand. I'll never play the piano with it, but it holds a beer, which is nice. I can take it off and scare the little kids, which that sort of stuff. They think it's pretty impressive. I've got the robot leg. You know, there is the right tool for the right job in every scenario. And all it takes is for us to put in the work. Don't expect it to come to you. Always put in the work. Get onto Google, find the latest and greatest, find these companies that have open sourcing for prosthetics hands. Most people are not going to be able to afford a $90,000 robot hand. They don't have the military in their back pocket. But there's these amazing little companies like Open Bionics or Unlimited Tomorrow. They have hands very similar to this for about $8,000. And so it's all about don't expect it to fall in your lap. We have to work for it. You know, I have a snowboarding leg. I've learned to snowboard. I never even snowboarded before, and now I love it. It's amazing. So these companies out there creating these tools to help us live as normal a life as possible. Sure, we might have to change limbs at sometimes. I got to get up and put a leg on in the morning. And if I want to go for a run, I got to put on my blade. If I want to go diving, I've got to put on my waterproof leg and my diving arm with the hook. But that's fine. That's just how we live now. I think it's beautiful that we have the power to show how capable humanity is, even though we've suffered these things or we're going through struggles that they can't possibly understand. We get to be the inspiration for them to live better lives.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that. And again, we advocate for inclusivity, and we advocate for mental health and wellness and people's passions. And it sounds like you found even new passions that you've been able to include in yourself. Thank you so much for sharing your story and your experience.
My pleasure. Thank you, Ariel.